Hello and welcome, Crystal City and Tartarian hunters. Welcome to another chat on the hunt for the Crystal City. Today we have with us Kel, as always, and we have our special guest, Sonja, all the way from the USA, who I still don't know how to describe you, Sonja, but Sonja has basically gone and explored the Crystal City, let's say that. She's been out there on the realms, so we're going to get into that and have a chat and see what we can find out. So welcome, Sonja.
Welcome.
You can always just call me a remote viewer.
There you go. Thank you. I was calling you a Super Saiyan, so I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I love remote viewing. I imagine a future where remote viewing is just so standard and typical to the human experience that there's no need to, like, there's no lies anymore, you know. We can just remote view to anywhere and any time and any place in the world and do whatever it is we're wanting to do. I mean, that in itself, like freeing the remote viewing of the world, would just be a complete ascension event for the human race on so many levels.
And it's just a skill set, by the way. It's just a skill set. As you get higher activated and you can keep that frequency, this stuff just turns on. The only reason it's not turned on is that most people are on the lower negative levels, and it's like a governor on a car. It's not going to let you, harm yourself. So you're not going to have those abilities. When you can handle them and you can keep that vibration, and along with it comes knowledge and acceptance is a big one, love, then you're ready. You can handle it. Things open up.
Definitely.
I love it. Did you train yourself in remote viewing, Sonja, or was it something that just sort of naturally was a spontaneous event?
Well, it's so weird. I've always had it, but not to this degree. Several years ago, I went on to a channel called Kelly Coffee, Kelly in the Raw, and she was a remote viewer. And I'm like, well, what is that? Because I really had cut off all media, TV, everything. And my daughter was like, come on, Mom, get back into the world. So we started with the internet a couple of years ago, and we found her. And through her, I learned how to actually hone my remote viewing. I have to give her all the credit. I mean, credit is where credit belongs. So
amazing. And that would have profoundly altered your life experience. My gosh. You had some wild, amazing journeys. What have you got up to in the last couple of years, Sonja?
Oh my gosh. Actually coming back into the world, because I had really shut myself off from the entire world. I just put everything down. I put the media down. I put movies down. I didn't go to theaters. I didn't watch movies. I just didn't do anything. I was just so sickened by our world that I was literally hiding away. And I was going to end up staying there forever if things didn't happen in my life, with my husband dying on the table and something else came in. I mean, I was with my husband now for 34 years. And when he died on the table, because he had multiple back surgeries from injuries from at work at Chrysler, and it wasn't him. When he woke up, that wasn't him on the table anymore. That wasn't him in my life. It was something else, and it was dark.
Wow. Like are you talking about like a walk-in?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, these are just shells. And when he left, something else took his place.
Wow, how did you negotiate that?
I think it was done for several reasons, to kick my butt out into the world, because it was time, because I would never have come back into the world. I was perfectly content in my little house in the woods, and I was never going back into the world.
Well, the great masters, they do tend to disappear into the forests of the world.
I just, everything happens for a reason. I wasn't real thrilled about losing my marriage. That was a long time to be married. I was with him since I was 19, 20. So I'm 55 now. So, but you know what? Everything happens for a reason.
Well, that's like a whole other world to question you on. I mean, walk-ins have fascinated me forever and ever. Since I even started this journey, walk-ins were on my radar. and understanding, you know, what is the physical body if walk-ins can exist, like this biological suit that we put on, it's so, in actual fact, can be so separate from us. And like, who are we then? These are the chain of thinking that I had, you know, before I even like started my spiritual journey. So yeah, I'm really fascinated by walk-ins, and I think to negotiate them, I mean, when you just that last couple of sentences, like watching like some crazy movie playing out, you know, like the Body Snatchers, or, you know, some alien.
I mean, it was bad because I was, when I got married, I knew that I would be married until this life was over, because that's who I am. I give my word. I'm in there for thick and thin, no matter what happens. That's it. I'm on your side. I don't care if we lose everything. I'll never leave. And then that happened. And it was like, he actually got rid of me. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. It was terrible. It was like yin and yang, and we couldn't even be in the same room together because it was fireworks. It got really bad. I mean, it was the negative and the positive, and we did not mesh well.
Wow, that's a shocking event. That is a shocking event when you're married to someone.
Yeah, I cried oceans and oceans of tears after he came out of recovery for 2 years. I cried my husband's death, because that was his body, but that was not him. Foods that he used to like, he hated. Things that he didn't want to do, he did. Everything about me, he hated. My husband loved me. He loved me. This person hated me. He couldn't stand the sound of my voice. He said the sound of my voice made him want to kill me.
Wow. Wow.
We were yin and yang.
Gosh, that sort of situation put most people like in mental health strife, you know, like that's and how do you even talk to anyone about it? How do you even express it? How do you even get support, you know?
Well, this is how I feel about it. I've got a big mouth and nothing shuts it up. So I'm talking to everybody. That's not my husband. That's his body, but that's not him. You just know. When the man goes to kiss you, you know that's not your husband. When he touches you and you feel a chill down your spine, you know that's not your husband.
Yeah.
No, that's not him. That's his shell.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting, leading us to what's going on in current world events, because, you know, like walking outside and you're really starting to feel, well, I'm really starting to feel that there's a biological shift going on in the vehicles that are carrying around humanity at the moment. And you know, like you want to make it very rational, logical, and say, no, that's, you know, that's not happening. They're just, the apple juice isn't doing that to people. But then like you actually feel it, you sense that shift. Like we're not the same. We're becoming different. We're becoming a different race almost.
Yeah, we really are.
And this is what's so hard for people is like letting go, isn't it, of the old, you know, paradigm and all this kind of, and because we've been taught so much that everything that's happening now, we've been taught doesn't exist. You know, it's all just, you know, it's all silliness, you know, that's all crazy talk. But now we're living it, you know, and people you have to, you know, I mean, you know, reality, if you want to call it that, but you have to take into account that what you're experiencing is real. Not the stuff that you think is real, not what's on the telly. So I think that's the biggest change, is this shift thing of people actually going, oh, the ether does exist. You know, I am a creator. You know, if I want to blame someone, I need to go to the mirror. You know, all this kind of stuff is what people are dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an event that is calling upon us to deal with our spiritual body and our physical body and our mental bodies and our ethereal bodies. Like, but, you know, claiming your sovereignty on this plane right now is multifunctioned. It's like, you know, just when you think you've got on top of one thing, woo, I've got it. I know the truth here. It's just like, oh my God, you've got to suddenly deal with something over here. And it's like, and they're the smallest little things. They're literally like, you know, we jump from like breaking down Tartaria consciousness and talking about crystal cities, and then stepping outside and, you know, having to make a complex experience with like not wearing a mask at a Steiner school where your kid's being forced to wear them, and standing up for like these little things, right, that are alongside these decisions all around us at the moment. it's a complex realm that we're in right now, and it's calling on a lot of all that inner work for us to really, it's like pressure point. It's like pushing the coal up through to the, like, till it bursts through as diamonds. But God, guys, like, I mean, what advice would you give to the human race right now? Like, it's tough.
The only thing I tell everybody is it's a shit show. Keep going. Stay out of cyber world as much as possible. Go out into nature, because you want to find truth. It's not in cyber world. It's out there. The longer you live in cyber world, the more depressed you'll become. Get out into the real world. We have forgotten what that's about.
Yep, I agree. Yep. And it's interesting because so many of us have been forced behind our computers, like inside, like our work has become behind the computer. And even if you're not like sitting there researching and looking at all the miserable truth conspiracies in the world, like, and actually just doing your job, you're sort of still like stuck behind this vortex matrix. This is like it holds you and it sort of like sucks you in for the whole day, and the day's gone. Just like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a fractal, isn't it? You know, it's like we've now created avatars online, and and people are on there pretending to be these digital characters, you know. And when you look in the big picture, is that what we are, right? We're just really a projection from our higher self down here, and our higher self is playing us like an avatar, and we're doing it again. It's like this fractal.
It's an intense moment, like, and you know, like if you just sort of like stepped away from the computer, took back your life basically, and trusted your shift back into nature, we can trust that our needs will be taken care of. But it's a big leap, you know. It's a big giant leap for most people to just,
it is, because most people are in a 2 to 3D. You're going to be lucky if you're even in 3D, because most people are still stuck in 2D. All these people that are running on fear, they're in 2D. They haven't even gotten out of 2D, and we're now in 4D. And it's like, because 4D is a mental construct. Of course, this whole thing is a mental war. We're in World War whatever. And most people don't even know we're in war. They don't even know we're at a war. We're all involved in a snow globe war.
I totally concur with you. And it's really interesting with the Tartarian information. So getting onto that is because to me, it's like a crack in all of that. And it allows the imagination to filter back through like a water fountain, you know. And it's like I can feel the energy of dipping my toes into the imagination again, you know, and concocting an adventure and taking, you know, a journey with people and physically challenging ourselves and actually physically actioning that journey, but doing it all based on an imaginative, lofty idea that's starting to unfold. And Cambell and I slowly, like, you know, having the conversations and putting pieces together, and I guess collecting evidence of its existence or of this imagined idea of ours. But you know, I can really see the difference in energetic template of the imagination right now versus, you know, like truth seeking, for example. Like and truth seeking is that you have to do it. That's a noble cause. You got to do it to get to here. But different energetic to the bubbliness of the imagination, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the imagination is the key that unlocks everything, because without it, you're just a bot. I mean, the imagination is connected to the pineal gland, and with that we create, and that's been so severed. I mean, get your feet back on the ground. Stop living in la la land. Well, you need to live in la la land. You need to get your feet up off the ground. You need that imagination. Without it, you don't grow. You simply don't grow. Everything here is solid. And I've always said our greatest achievement is solidity, because none of us are actually solid. So in order to get up to that higher you got to let your feet get off the ground. You need to go fly around, and you need to let that imagination loose. Yep.
I absolutely agree. The imagination is like the missing piece of the puzzle. Like in all the spiritual journeys that I've been on and looked at all the modalities and disciplines, I've never been trained in nonsense. I've never been trained in the use of the imagination. And that to me is like the fundamental discipline that like it like triggers all the other chain of events in the human abilities, you know? So it's like, nonsense.
It has to. It has to. Everything's created twice, right? First up here. And you can only do that with the imagination. And that's what they stomp on, right? Even in school, it's like you've got school and then you've got the arts, you know, this little sort of bit at the side. And that's the only imaginative, even that they tell you how to imagine and how to use it. And then the only other place is children, you know, up until 6 or 7, but that's getting pushed back as well. Now they want kids in school at 3, you know, to start telling them what to do. Don't use your imagination. We'll tell you what to do. So it's definitely under attack. It needs to be brought back for sure.
Yep, absolutely. So go on, hit us.
Yeah, sorry.
Go on. Tell us everything. Tell us everything, you know, like, you know, with the premise is we're on the hunt for a crystal city here in the Australian desert. And the premise is that we feel like the veils have all like got a bit dodgy and a bit see-through, and the Tartarian consciousness is like elevated our ability to drop program bust, basically bust all the programs out. So the idea of there being access to this you know, currently invisible city, which we think has just been here the whole time, we just haven't been able to see it because we got like pushed down into this density. Like we feel like we have an opportunity right now, maybe, to find this thing. So tell us everything. What did you see? What did you get? What have you got to say?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you from the beginning. I was having a conversation with Cambell and Colum, and they were talking about the crystal cities. And of course, Colum made jokes about crystal meth. And the next thing I know, I started getting all these, I'd call them downloads or flashes, and it's physically inside of me. I can see it. I'm there. I guess it must have sparked something in me. And the next thing I know, I'm there. I'm here, but I'm there. It's almost like bilocating. So you take a part of your consciousness and you can send it anywhere. If it's interesting, I just do it. I don't even think about it. I'm just there. So I ended up in this crystal. It looked like a castle at first, the way when you walk into it, because the middle of it is like castle-y, but it's actually a whole crystal city. And what I was seeing was that there were not a lot of beings there. I'm going to say maybe a couple hundred beings at the most in this huge crystal city. The crystal itself was like a bluish pink. It had a little bit of a green hue to it, but it almost looked like, you know, frosted glass, how it's kind of frosted glass that's not clear, like a glass that you can see through, but it's frosted, like frosted glass.
I'm going to show you a crystal that we found in the middle of Australia yesterday. While you're talking, I'll just bring it up and you can tell me if this looks like what you're talking about. I will screen share, because actually the crystal conversation we had yesterday was fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Was it something like this one? Can you see?
Yeah, but not that dark in color. That's a really dark color. But then again, it may be that dark in this dimension.
Because this comes from the area that Cambell and I are kind of vaguely looking at.
Wow, it's almost that color, but it's a little bit lighter. And I do know that when you traverse into the thicker dimensions, which is like 3D, 4D, colors become more solidified. I don't know how else to call that. So yeah, that looks like it, but it's not that dark.
All right, cool. All right, and this also comes from the area.
That?
Wow. That's interesting. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
I saw the walls. The walls, they use different material to make the roads and the walls than they do for the actual buildings. It's the same, it's crystal, but they add things to it. I think Colum's the one that said, oh, they put additives in it. And I'm like, well, yeah, they really do. Depending on what they're creating, they'll add things to that mix. And of course, these crystal cities are actually grown. They're not built, they're grown. And it's the most it's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. So when I went in there and I wanted to see how this crystal was, I was like, where'd they get all that crystal from? Damn, that's a lot of crystal. Where, city? But no, it was actually ground. It looked like some kind of liquid phosphorus material. It had some kind of water. The water was not our water. It was a higher vibrational water because it was all bouncing around like this. And it looked a little bit foamy, like because it had so much going on, it was creating like a foam. So it's some kind of water. It was liquid phosphorus and calcium. Now, depending on if they were going to build a tower or if they're going to build a wall, that's when they would add different things to it. This was also grown. All of this is alive. It is alive with a life force in it. So and the city, it's the craziest thing. It sings. When I went back, I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, that
noise?
makes sense.
It was like a humming noise. It's like, and when you interact with that, it actually changes the hum to your hum. It's really weird. It's really weird. But it sings. And I realized with the singing, there's vegetation there. Some of the vegetation looks like there's no dirt, like hydroponic. And some of the vegetation, especially the big trees, it's in dirt. And I guess it's just to ground it. No insects. I didn't see any insects. I didn't see animals. I didn't see any kind of, how trees can get black spot or any kind of tree, nothing. And it's because the crystal city is putting out a vibration that parasites, mold, fungus, mildew, there were no mushrooms, there were nothing like this. It can't survive. So it's on such a frequency that these things cannot survive. Strange, isn't it?
Well, that's interesting because when I work with regenerative agriculture, right? So I work a lot around the fungi and everything, and I have always understood fungi to be a 6-dimensional consciousness. So that's really interesting to me. Like if you look at the crystal city, it's too high vibing for fungus, which makes up the natural internet basically under our soil. That says that this city's higher than a 6-dimensional consciousness. Yeah,
it's high. It's really, really high. And it's not 6D. I think it's more like 8 or 9. I mean,
yeah, right. Okay, because there's like Sonja. So a couple of the channels from overseas who have been really focused on Australia, because it's gone mental here. Like they have said the reason it's gone so mental here is because Australia still has the largest population of 12 D-strand DNA individuals.
Wow. Oh, I
living
didn't know
here.
That.
Which is why the attention is, which makes so much sense because Cambell and I put together this historical kind of story that our Indigenous elders were the original law keepers for the world, for the whole realm. They were the law keepers for the realm. So the law, LORE, is really important. And when they came and broke that law was when they could really amalgamate this reset or this nefarious force on the planet. And possibly that was why the energetic template of our experience just went really dense, really,
we took a fall. We fell. We actually fell because at one point humanity had all of its skill set. We could translocate, we could do anything telepathically, we could telekinesis. There's nothing we couldn't do, but we fell because we were taken down.
Yeah And I guess when you take out the actual law of the realm, that would be the final piece falling. And to this day, if you're an Indigenous here in Australia and you enact that law, the police won't touch you. Like you actually get a pass through, like you can actually move forward with that law beside you because energetically it's actually magic. So we've got a situation here where that law fell and then we've got this 200-year missing timeline dense gapness of the human race. And so right now we've got this movement of that law rising again really powerfully within our Indigenous here. And that's what a lot of the channels overseas are picking up on, that it's the 12-strand DNA, so the 12th dimensional DNA strand. It's just chucking that into the conversation. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool because I learned something new today.
Mhm.
I might know a lot of things, but I don't know hardly anything compared to what's out there.
Tell us about it. I think we will be humbled to the day we pass this realm, I tell you.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
oh yeah. But the crystal cities are just, well, the city. I've only ever seen one crystal city, and that's the one I'm looking at. I don't know where in this snow globe it's at because it's so high on the dimension. Nothing looks familiar. I mean, it just doesn't. I can't identify where this is at.
Mm.
So we're talking same physical space, but higher
Yes.
frequency.
Yes, everything is here. All the dimensions are here. They're like superimposed on top of each other.
Yeah.
So there's not even like a fine, thin line between them because they're all here. But depending on which dimension you're in, the higher frequency, if you don't match that frequency, you can walk right through dimensions and it has no bearing on you because of the dimension you're in. The ones that are in the higher dimension, it's easier for them to come down than it is for us to go up. It's like trying to push a piano upstairs by yourself.
Yeah. Which, like, you know, it's an idea that we can get, you know, we understand it. Like, yes, they exist in the one space with different dimensional things, but to actually really think about that idea, to really take that idea in, like, that's a crazy idea. Like, to imagine where I stand right now and where you guys are sitting right now, there are like people just walking all the way through you right now doing their shopping.
Right.
Like, that is a crazy idea, you know? So like, to get our head around that conceptually is, you know, it's really interesting. Like, so, I mean, and that idea we are grappling with through this journey. Like, we're taking that concept. We understand that we're searching for something that doesn't even exist on this plane, with the possibility of accessing it from this plane, if it's even possible. And I often look at the story with Columbus, you know, that it's an analogy, of course, arriving in the Americas, and, you know, the shaman stood there, had to spend 7 days staring out to sea because he noticed the ripples were different, but couldn't recognize the boats. Like, had never seen a ship before, so it took 7 days to see it. So that's a sort of the same thing I'm thinking about. With it might take us 2 weeks of staring into nothingness. Yeah. Is that a crazy idea, Sonja? Is that crazy? We've been crazy.
No, you're not being crazy. But the first thing you do before you actually physically see it, you'll feel it.
Yeah.
You should be able to feel it. Anything that's that high vibrational, you'll just feel good. It'll have a feeling of just, oh, I just like it here. I like it here. Why do I like it here? There's nothing here. Man, I really like it here.
Agreed. Yeah. So that would be sort of, we're going to go with a crew of people. Who knows who's coming, but who's coming is coming. And like, just sort of like trailing our way through into the desert from Uluru, from Alice Springs. So it'll be interesting to know if we all sort of just suddenly go, hang on, I'm feeling something. What's going on here? I'm feeling happy all of a sudden. Like, you know, it, like, hopefully it'll be that tangible.
That's what I feel. Yeah. I think it will.
It should be because even if it's on a higher frequency dimension, even if you walk into that, have you ever just walked into a room and you think, oh my God, I got to get out of here? Definitely. Or you walk into a room and it's like, oh, I never want to leave.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm interested. So this is a very vast realm that you saw. So tell us a bit. So the entities that you saw, there wasn't very many of them. So you noted the absence of people.
Yeah, there were. I mean, this city was huge, but a couple hundred people at most. I don't know why.
Tartarian. That sounds so freaking Tartarian,
doesn't it?
I mean, because that's the whole thing with Tartaria. Like, all these photos of these huge giant cities with no people in them.
Yeah,
so that's weird.
It's just like, I don't know if it's because they can. Okay, these people that are on, these beings that are on this dimension with this crystal city, they don't have real solid bodies like we do. I mean, their bodies are it's like, this is us and this is them. When you're there, you'll feel solid enough, but they're not even close to what we are. I mean, we're like a rock and they're like a feather. So I'm wondering, when I look into it, I do see beings coming and going, coming and going. So they're going someplace else and then coming back there. So I'm thinking it's the ones that live there, but I think there's more. They're just out,
So,
all different places.
so are these beings, are they people that either, I don't know, survived the fall or went through the fall and then got back up to that level? And
They never went through the fall.
then, okay,
They
so
never
they
went
avoided
through the
it.
fall.
Okay.
No.
So that's why they're there.
Stayed.
So second question, are these the channels? Are these the beings that people are contacting?
They're one of the beings that people are contacting. There's more than one. And yes, they definitely are. They want to help humanity back to the stage that they were at before the fall. And they've always been there. And a lot of them that stay in the city stay there for the area. They never left because of their commitment to the area. There are everywhere in the snow globe, we have this scenario. It's not a crystal city because that's just those type of beings. But the reason that some of these beings stick around is because they're dedicated to help bring us back before the terrible fall. They need to help us get back. We need help. I mean, look at humanity, for goodness sake. I can describe what they look like if that's you want to know.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Yes, I tell you what. About, I don't know, 18 years ago now, I did a blindfold retreat. I blindfolded myself for 3 weeks, to see what would happen to reality without my eyes. And in that time, I was traveling around with these really tall, translucent, like transparent, like beings that you could see color. And they'd speak telepathic, and I could see color coming off them. And when you've spoken, that's what I'm thinking about. That's the sort of style of being. So
yes, that's exactly them. They're kind of translucently looking. They look bluish, greenish, whitish. They kind of look like the Crystal City themselves. There's not much difference between their skin tone and that Crystal City. I mean, they could blend right in. And they do have a little bit darker where their jaw is. They don't look human. They look humanoid, but they don't look human. They don't have any hair. Their skin is, if you can call it skin, I don't know what you call that. It kind of looks like dolphin. You know what a dolphin looks like? Kind of has dolphin skin. I mean, it's not like our skin. And it's, they're really tall. I'm going to say they're 8 feet tall, maybe 12 feet tall. They're really tall. I'm not real good at height, but they're way taller than us. Thin. They're thin. There's their body fat is not like ours at all. We have body fat. They do not have body fat. It's not in their makeup. They don't look like they're gaunt or anything, like, you know, if you don't have enough skin, enough fat, you look gaunt. No, they don't look gaunt. They look healthy. They they're designed, they for some reason, I keep thinking aquatic. They're designed aquatically, you know? Think of like a stingray. It's not fat. It's got that skin, and they're solid, but these things, I shouldn't call them things, these beings they're not real solid.
Well, that makes sense, because the whole Tartarian dialogue is that we come from the water, and that we're water's above us and water's below us, and that we're in a dome surrounded by water. And, you know, water is like, and the whole truth movement, it's all been about follow the water, watch the water, watch the water. It's just like water. So, and the Australian desert obviously had some sort of, well, we're heading towards where the inland sea used to be, and it's not there anymore. But once again, it's water. And that's where the biggest crystal deposits are. Like if we were looking at a physical 3D translation of sort of some clues to a crystal city, I mean, it's always on the fringe of inland seas here in Australia. So that's just interesting that their whole physical makeup is reflective of water beings.
Water beings. Yeah, I call them aquatic. They're aquatic.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when I went there, they weren't under the ocean. No, they're on land. I mean, you know, it's weird. They look aquatic. They feel to me aquatic. Everything feels crystalline because it is. I had done a video where I described how they actually grew the crystal, and it was like a blueprint, and through music, and it was in multi-layers, and depending on what was on that blueprint is what it would grow into. And I was sitting there watching that for a while going, oh my gosh, they can grow absolutely anything. A cup, a table, a tower, a road, a brick. They can even emulate brick. But
It's amazing.
So do they sing do they sing the buildings, or is it like more of a mechanical process, or?
It's both. They're constantly singing. Once you get the crystal started, it does an actual singing. I don't care if it's just started, it starts to sing. So the more you get, the more singing, and it all incorporates into it. And then you can add the blueprints into it to make it different things. Okay. Because it's definitely, what do you call that? It's manipulated by the beings.
Well, which is so fascinating, because obviously our indigenous follow songlines. And when we talk to some of the elders on that topic, like their magic came from singing. They were singing the magic. So that when the first fleet arrived in Australia to do war with our indigenous, with the law keepers, they went to war. It was a genocidal war. It wasn't a colonization, and there was no convicts. It was soldiers. And those soldiers fled in fear because of the indigenous magic that was being used against them. And it was all in song. It was all singing. It was all singing. And like this ascension event, inverted commas, I just keep calling it a harmonic convergence. Like that's what I feel like it's going to be. And like, if you look at Martin Lecky's work from Flat Earth British, he's constantly talking about the sound of the rapture, the cymatics, the sound, the weapons in sound and song, the sound from the heavens, this huge sound that crossed the whole earth and laid siege. It always is a sound. And then we add that to water, which is what carries and holds sound.
Well, like, they both have waves.
Both have waves, exactly.
Yep.
Everything has waves, really.
So it looks like the Crystal City is a very similar higher version of, like, it feels like a macro version of the micro we're living right now. Similarities, the higher advanced version of the technology we don't understand, mainly sound and water.
And sound is such, it's been so weaponized, hasn't it? I mean, the whole 440, 432 thing. But I mean, seriously, go and find any video on, you know, tribal lifestyle that doesn't have dancing and singing and music in it. That's what they do. And we know they do it for ceremony. They do it to change their conscious state. I mean, it's all vibration and music. That's, you know, we get synthesized pop music now, right? But it used to be earthy. It used to be connected to nature. You know, that's why drums used to be made of wood and skill, and, you know, instruments were made from nature. They weren't made from computer chips.
Yeah.
And you know, you meet anyone who's involved with singing, whether it's a choir or they're in a band or they just do it. Like, anyone who sings is basically a much happier human being. I've noticed in my life, if they sing or do music or play instruments, they're generally happier. Yeah. And we basically get taught really early on that the majority of us can't sing and we're tone deaf. The majority of us can't play an instrument. Like, this is a special skill set allocated to the few super talented ones. But like, and, you know, so you grow up. I remember in year 2, I got asked to leave the choir because I was like too loud or something. I can't remember, but it scarred me. It scarred me. And so I've always been told I'm tone deaf, basically. But the other day I put out a YouTube clip, and at the end I just friggin' sang a bit, and I was like, fuck it, you know, like I'm gonna sing. I love singing. Something in here, song is important to this time.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, so what was his name? sang last night? I've forgotten his name.
Oh, Liam.
Liam.
Yeah.
Like we were having a round table, and he just sort of said, "Oh, I've got a song," and then he just started singing, and I thought he was going to play something, and he just started singing, and it was like, whoa. And you could really see everyone's reaction. Everyone loved it. Everyone wanted to get involved, but everyone was like, holding back. And this is the whole thing, isn't it? We're told, oh, no, you're not a singer. That's the singer. But when you look back, this is what a choir is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not the lead singer, because obviously everyone's got different, skills, but everyone goes in the choir, and and then you have your front singers. So everyone, it's all, it's this whole thing that, because they talk about it as singing, right? Instead of vibration, that they talk about it as, oh, they sing these nice words and sound good, rather than they're speaking to the universe. They really sort of don't tell us what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, Cambell, what this is leading to is that we're going to have to sing when we're in the desert.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be, we're going to have to, or we're going to actually have to make it a thing that everyone brings some form of instrument.
Instrument, definitely, yeah. I've got a didge, I've got some drums. I mean, even tapping sticks are good. And a bit of foot stomping.
Flutes.
So flutes, yeah, we definitely need some whistles and flutes and high pitch sort of stuff.
Well, so this conversation about sound and instruments, I mean, if we go through what we know about the old realm and Tartaria, like it's all based on sound, isn't it? Like the organs, I mean, the whole high frequency,
cathedral is,
the cathedrals. Then we've got the integration with the water and how the sound and the instruments and the water all work together to harness this ether and like provide us with high vitality. No need to eat, no need to like do these lowly acts. And because I find eating very complicated in this realm, like it consistently does my head in. I don't want to eat anything like meat, but my body is not used to eating meat, and I have thrived with it biologically now and struggle without it unless, I'm in the position where I'm on my farm and can actually do the raw living foods. But even seasonally, that's a tricky situation, and all the vegetarian options now are so corrupted, like they're so bad that it's worse actually than eating meat. So
a lot of time it unfortunately is.
Yeah, it's the GMOs. They GMO all the nutrition out of your fruits and vegetables.
Yep.
And I'm not kidding. They
GMO,
and it's all soy
out of everything.
Mm-hmm. And now the plant-based products, they're just all full of God knows what.
They're all soy, and they're all really high in estrogen.
And actually, interesting, I've told this to Cambell, Sonja, that when one of the side effects of low nutritional food in our diets, which is obviously by design, is it shrinks our hippocampus. So it actually shrinks the part in our brain that's responsible for creative and critical thinking. So it shrinks the part that allows you to harness your imagination. And like that's been going on, and and it's so insidious, like it's in micro amounts that these poisons, there are micro amounts, so they're hard to test. But when you eat them with every single food you're eating and in your drinking water and all over your fruit and vegetable, and over 20 years, it just builds up to, like a brain dead disease, basically.
Yeah.
Remember when old people used to be smart?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember when your parents and your grandparents used to eat these huge meals and never get fat?
Yeah.
That's because your body could recognize the food and it could either assimilate it or get rid of it.
Yeah.
But with this new synthetic food, your body can't recognize it. And the first thing it does is store it.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. You're so right. And then once it's done that, it's really hard to get rid of. It's really hard to clean it off. Like it sticks. And then it just like accumulates, and it's plagues it's literally a plaque. It's like a plaque. It's a plague plaque. It literally has stuck itself onto the vehicles of the human race. Very, it's very much like that little cartoon Wally. Did you guys see Wally? And he's in this. Oh, you probably didn't see. You're probably in the mountain. You're in the forest. Anyway, it was like the people were all sort of stuck on a spaceship and very like burdened by the size of their biological
Couldn't
suits.
walk or anything.
Yeah.
They had like little floaty chairs. which we're seeing though. I mean, it's, you know, everyone's seen the pictures of, you know, those gopher little things that people ride around, and you know, someone's sitting on it who's a couple of 100 kilos because they literally can't walk. We're just being attacked. But I mean, as long as you know, there's a solution to every problem, right, or every perceived problem. And I mean, fasting is really fast coming back into the consciousness. Everyone's talking about fasting and all this stuff and all these different, you know, MMS and different things you can take to cleanse and get all the crap out. So I think, but we just need to be mindful of everything we take in, right? This is the thing. To me, food is the same as information. You know, if you're going to watch telly all day, you're going to fill your mind with crap. You know, if you're going to eat stupid food all day, you're going to fill your body with crap. You know, if you're going to believe the hype, then you're going to fill your spirit with crap. So it's all, you know, we've got to decide what we want.
Yeah. Well, they put a lot of wheat, corn, and sugar in everything, in anything that's processed. Well, the wheat and the corn will cause leaky gut syndrome, and you're pretty much a goner at that point. I mean, because what it does is put little tiny holes through your entire intestinal tracts to poison yourself with your own body. Isn't that horrible? Nice. And sugar is like crack cocaine, because our bodies really can't handle sugar. It's poison. It's just poison.
Yeah.
And so everything's made out of wheat, corn, and sugar.
Cane sugar, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read that wheat is actually like like actual, you know, what we think is traditional wheat. I've heard it's actually like a GMO. It's a created,
Our bulgur wheat used to be the wheat we used to have. And of course, they got rid of that because it was full of vitamin B17, which is amygdalin, and which can be turned into Laetrile. Without this in your body, you can get cancer. It's like a vitamin C deficiency. You'd end up with scurvy. It's no different. You cannot take major vitamins out of your diet and think you're not going to suffer. This has all been done purposefully to harm humanity. These controllers want us dead. And it's as simple as that. They want us gone dead. It's easier to control a handful than control the many.
Yeah. Agreed. So in the Crystal City, did you see anything to do with food or nourishment?
No food. I did not see food. I saw them drinking a liquid, but not eating. I didn't see actual eating. And when I look at them drinking that liquid, it's glowy. The liquid glows. So I don't know what's in there, but it glows.
So if we vibrate at a higher frequency, can we absorb more energy, more life force, and so require less food?
If you vibrate at a higher energy, something happens to your DNA. It like gets open, because we have that 98% of our DNA that's locked down. That's got the governors on it. And the only way you're opening it, of course, is to raise your vibration. What happens is it'll extend your life, your longevity. It'll extend so many other things, your cell replication, because we're a replicating cell machine. I mean, we're just a machine. And when you open up that part of your DNA, when you activate it, it's going to allow you to do things that were always there because we're so locked down. We used to live 1,000 years, no problem. I mean, you would still be considered a child at 100 years. What do you know at 100 years? You know nothing. Keep learning.
Yeah, I've been thinking, like his gray hair, is that actually, did that used to be the sign of like adulthood?
Yeah.
When you start sort of, you've got your wisdom and then you start learning from there. It's kind of, I put it like, I did lots of martial arts, and like a lot of people think the black belt is the end, right? That's the goal, but the black belt's actually the beginning. It's your first belt. It's like, okay, now you have the skills that we can actually start teaching you. So yeah, is that what gray hair? Because we see it as old, but maybe that was, you know.
Well, we have some remnants in our body left over from being really old, our wisdom teeth. We used to have several sets of teeth, not just our baby teeth and than your
Okay, yeah,
adult
yeah.
teeth. We had sets of teeth. Depending on how old you were, a new set would come in. Our wisdom teeth are a part of our third set of teeth, but we had, I think, 6 set of teeth altogether.
Wow. Because some people still do grow either a third set or third individual teeth. That still happens.
That's a remnants of who we used to be. Our teeth are not going to last a really long time. Like when you live 1,000 years, those teeth aren't going to last 1,000 years. No way. You grind them down through eating.
Yep.
So this is why we had several sets of teeth. And our tonsils at one time, when I look into that, it had something to do with vibration. When you would breathe, so it had something to do with vibration. We don't know how to use our tonsils because we lost the knowledge.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
we just lost the knowledge.
Well, when you hear all the throat singing, it's very tonsil-y kind of from that region, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. There were other things when I was looking into the human body. What was a remnant? The appendix was something that we used to eat, and we needed to have that appendix, and now it's useless because we don't have that food in this snow globe. It was from on the bigger earth outside of this snow globe, and that's why it became redundant, because we didn't use it anymore. We didn't eat that food. It was a certain kind of vegetation, and it was extremely toxic, so that appendix would take out the toxicity. But since we don't have that in our diet anymore, it started to shrink, get small, and become useless.
Yeah, because along with the Atlantis story, that there's a big narrative of we lost a lot of foods, and basically the best ones, we lost them and they went under, and that's why we're not living so long is, like you just said, there was a food we were eating which is non-existent now. So does that mean they're still out there on a different, outside the dome somewhere? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yes. We've been relocated more than anything.
Yes. We've been split up as humanity. We're all over the place. We're not just in this dome. We're on, because this dome has another part of it, which we don't know about, which is kept from us, which is the other half with all that land inside the dome. Outside of the dome, there's the huge, bigger earth. And that's all of Gaia. And it also connects to everything underneath the ground, because what's under the ground is bigger than what's up here in the little domes. We aren't the only dome. We're just one of many on top. Basically, Gaia was an energy being, and she went into contract with us to have an experience and basically solidified herself. In the solidifying, she bubbled up with gases. It created craters, and at that point we would live in the different craters and create an environment. This place didn't used to have a dome over it. It used to be all one temperature, like 72 to 74, 5 degrees all year round. No such thing as winter. They created winter by bringing in freezer units in this snow globe, and freezer units create destruction. When you freeze anything, it dries up the atmosphere and causes deserts. I mean, there's just so much. Oh my goodness.
So who when you say they brought in freezer technology, who is they in your
reptilians, AI reptilians? The reptilian species came to a point where they are where we are now, where they had a choice to go down the AI road and become Borg, or remain the way they wanted. The power hungry one, their empire split, just like humanity splitting. No different. Different species, same scenario. Yeah.
And so is that what's going to happen? Like, do you think we're literally going to end up with two different? Because it's also like it's Star Trek has it with the Vulcans, don't they? Like the Vulcans have like a sort of a sister race, and they started as one and they split. And obviously in Star Trek, that's they got different planets and it's thousands of years. But so is that what you see? Is we're literally, because I mean, again, this is like a fractal, because this has clearly happened before, because we have good and bad, right? So clearly some, and so it's gonna, and so this is all really about choice, about where we choose to go and choose to put our energy and our focus, really, isn't it? We've been given a decision and a choice.
Yes, it's your choice. It's free will. Even if someone feels like they're pressuring you, you still have the choice to say no. But most people are like, I want to do what's easy. I'm a fence sitter. Just give me what's easy. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Don't want to
And if
cause
you're living in a state
waves.
of fear, if you're living in a state of fear of losing anything, that's a lot of leverage against you.
Well, that's the thing. When you understand you don't actually own anything, it makes that easier, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So in the past timeline where the reptilians were faced with the same choice we're now living out again, are the reptilians behind now the forcing of this choice upon us? Like, is it cyclic like that?
Yes and no, because there's always yin and yang. You've got the reptilians that didn't do it, or the draconians that didn't do it, and you got the ones that did. They are the same species divided. And you have them both working equally. But the bad thing is that in this snow globe, a lot of the big families, the 13 major families that are running this, they own all the media. Their biggest weapon is propaganda. If we can get you to believe something, you'll do it because you're in a state of fear. You are taught fear from the day you were born. Fear this, fear that, fear. We have to unlearn that big bag of fear. And with that fear comes hate, jealousy, envy, all those negative connotations. They need to go into the bag and burn the bag. Let it go.
Well, I tell you what, the last 18 months has been fucking amazing for people getting rid of their fear. I mean, and getting rid of their dependency on the media and that whole propaganda machine, because like when people start to understand the media and NASA, they're all just Hollywood studios, and they're all written in advance, and they all just set up this advanced, and they just take pictures of models, and they actually, and then they just roll out that footage with some sound effects, and that's the news for, this time next year. Like, it's so Hollywood film set. And, I think the Tartarian thing has been fantastic for busting that out of people. The disclosure of the last 18 months, fantastic. And now I think there's enough of us who have sort of freed ourselves from any dependency on that system and don't feel that fear. Like, I don't feel fear of any of that. I feel definitely a stress point with not knowing not knowing where I should be living, or, dealing with the school, dealing with our 3D world sort of like segregating us. And like, I definitely feel like we're becoming refugees on our own plane. That's, like, to put it distinctly, I feel like we're moving into refugee status. So on that level, from that perspective, Sonja, have you got any thoughts on that? Because I mean, obviously these crystal cities, that at some point they must have gone through something similar that has allowed them to, continue to move, expand.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. Most of them that are there now, they're us.
Yeah.
When we pass out of these shells, if we don't get stuck in the reincarnation system, most of us do, some of us don't, we make a choice. If you're awake, you're not going to get stuck in that reincarnation system, because you're simply not going to go to that light, that bug trap. Why do you think Hollywood pumps? Go to the light, go to the light.
It's like booby traps everywhere we go. Goddamn booby traps right up until the dying moment. It's like, oh my God.
Go to the light. Remember to go to the light. Yeah, don't go to that light. That's a bug trap. Think of your zapper. What do the bugs do? They go zip, zip, and get zapped. It's a bug trap. But yes, we are everything that's outside of here. We're just here having a human experience. We are them.
And so if we get caught in the reincarnation, we come back to this dome. But if we don't, then we can go to the rest of the.
I can tell you this. I woke up out of this. I am being projected into this. So when I die, I'm just going to wake up where I already am. So, how many of us are being projected in? You're not going anywhere but back to where you came from.
Because it's all just a VR. So it's exactly like we mentioned before about the video games and And we're literally who we are. Because this is the thing, right? We say myself and people think that that's them, but clearly it says myself. It's not you. It's something that is part of you or that you're connected to. So that's the dude sitting up the top with, the controller, right? And we're the avatar or whatever down here in the game.
Yeah. And the big thing is you have to remember that don't take everything so seriously.
It's just a game.
The more you take everything so seriously, negativity finds a foothold. Don't let it. I'm not saying ignore everything and stick your head in the sand, because of course I'm going to be the first one saying, no, you can't do that because I got a big mouth. But you really need to step back, laugh, and say, you know what? I'm here for a short time. Let's raise those vibrations. Let's not take it so seriously. Let's have a little fun. This place will encase you in negativity every way you move. And if you live in cyber world, it's much easier to overtake your senses. So walk away from cyber world a little bit every day.
So Sonja, so with this crystal city that you saw, do you consider that to be a crystal city that is within our dome? Or is it a higher version of this dome?
No, it's in this dome.
It is in this dome. Is it in this dome by
dome.
choice? Is it here by choice, or does it have the ability to be somewhere else?
It's always been here. When this place fell, it didn't move. It still stayed, but because it's in the higher dimension, it's just that the lower dimensions fell. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Yep.
It's still there. It was always there. As far as I can see, it's been there for millennia.
So do you get a sense that they have some relationship to, or some involvement in what is unfolding right now on the planet?
Yes, every minute of every day, they send out songs. They send out songs of hope, love. Love is the big one. It's in the trees when the wind whips through the leaves. It's the songbirds. It's everything. They are symbiotic with everything in nature. So through nature, they sing, through a waterfall, through a creek, a babbling brook. It's a song, and that's them directly impacting everything here. This is why you must get out into nature to connect.
Well, I think ultimately all the refugees that are going to be exiting the city landscapes are going to find themselves naturally in nature, because we weren't going to have many options left to us. The cities are essentially getting shut down to us. So, how great's that? That's to our benefit, right? That means we are all going to be correctly positioned over the next couple of years to really harness the truth that is in nature. And I know it. I spent 12 years in the bush, Sonja. Like, I know the difference. And the last 18 months here in Melbourne, and again, it's chalk and freaking cheese, man. Like, I honestly, I can feel the artificial nature of my surroundings. I can feel the lack of breathing in the materials used. I can feel the lack of life. I can feel the artificial nature of it. I can feel the AI. And I feel like it drains your battery. It like feeds off your energy. Even if you're not interrelating it with your emotional, spiritual, mental state, it still feeds off your vehicle somehow. Like, I can feel that happening, like the depletion of your minerals and vitamins just by existing in the city centers. It's a weird phenomenon. Definitely.
Yeah, I always think of the woods, deep woods, waterfalls, the ocean. They put out the negative ions, which is a cellular regenerating system. When you go into the cities, they're not designed like that. They're positive. And what happens? They drain you like a battery.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels.
And negative ions come from rain, right? And what happens when it rains? Everybody runs inside or gets an umbrella. I walk out of that. They're like, everyone's like hiding under it's just water.
Well, I wouldn't be in the rainwater in this day and age with all that geoengineering and the parasites that are in the damn water.
Parasites, God.
Oh gosh, you don't know, huh? They put some really filthy stuff in the geoengineering, chemtrailing, trashing. And if somebody tells you there's no such thing, I would say you are very uneducated and go get your education. They've been doing this for the last 100 years. They've just ramped it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And nanotech as well, like and heavy metals. Heavy metals are massive, like all those bushfires. That was all heavy metal. Yeah, I know. Yeah, let's not get started on the agenda to poison us in every possible way.
Exactly. So if we raise our vibration, though, we can nullify that effect, right? Because, you know, all the radiation that's attacking us is on a certain frequency as well.
Yes, it is. I do know that in nature, it really combats AI. I've got a real big problem with AI. You hear me talking about it all the time, Campbell.
Yeah.
Can't stand AI. When you go into nature and you go into the woods, it combats AI. And this is why they're trying to take nature out with the heavy metals, because trees cannot assimilate heavy metals. The tree roots want to come up out of the ground, out of the toxicity of it, and then they fall over. It also causes the trees to, it destroys the sap inside of trees to protect itself from bugs. It's like AIDS on steroids for trees. And so the bugs can get into the trees and then eat them from the inside out. You know how you used to have rings and you could count them, how old the tree is? Go look at your trees. There's no middles because the heavy metals are destroying the forests all over the entire snow globe purposefully, because AI can't handle the trees. The trees are also multi-dimensional, and this is how the wee folk and the fairies can transverse in and out of this dimension through the trees. They're a living highway of the D's.
So were we born from the trees? Like, I was watching all the artwork where there's like literally medieval artwork with bums, like trees full of bums and trees full of legs. And this interpretation that our physical beings were like growing on trees. That's weird, right? But
I know what that is. I've seen that before. It's to let you know it's a metaphor that they are alive. They're a being. Just because they don't have arms and legs, this is why they drew them on there. They are alive. They are us also, but in an earlier stage, because we had to be a lot of things in this reality to become human. So we would know what it was like to be a crystalline being, what it was like to be a tree, what it was like to be a tree elf, what it was like this, and this. They are us.
And if we remembered that, we wouldn't be out there
cutting them down
with the destruction. Yeah.
Well, remember Stephen and Evan Strong, Cambell, they're the archaeologists here in Australia who've been like specialized in forbidden archaeology, basically. They were telling us lots of stories of where there was certain areas they'd went and all the trees were knocked down, and like the energy, they felt energy coming up from underneath, and we were connecting that to old tech, and it like basically weakening and the trees. And like a couple of months ago here in Melbourne, there was a huge storm that went around the mountain area around Melbourne, and just like literally millions of trees just were uprooted in this 1 hour storm sort of thing. Like it took out whole forests, and like the trees just fell. Yeah, it was crazy. You probably didn't see it, Cambell. It was actually crazy. But like it definitely showed us how fragile the root system of our trees are at the moment. And the amount of chemtrails been raining down here in Australia, I know the rest of the world, but you know, has just been insane. And then this artificial drought that they put the food basin in, and then we've got these artificial fires, and it's just they're bomb. And in the last week, we've had tornadoes here. Like there's been 4 examples of tornadoes here in Australia. People dying and houses being destroyed. We have never, ever had tornadoes.
Oh, that's called weather warfare. You know, it's harp on wheels.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you control the weather, you control the world. You can bring in the hurricanes. You can bring in the tornadoes. You can bring in the tsunamis. You can do anything. They also have tech to create tsunamis under the water. That is not continental shelves. We don't have continental shelves. They'd like you to believe that so they could use their weaponry. But that's weaponry. That's weaponry.
It is. And there's 52 like weather modification centers around the perimeter of Australia. I don't know if you knew that, Cambell. 52 of them.
52, one for every week. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, so we're all up in arms about what they've done with like the apple juice and COVID, but actually, like Australia's been suffering from freaking drought for the last several hundred, at least the last 100 years, and it's all been man-made. So many people have been destroyed by the weather. They must think it's hilarious, like that they're just like everything gets blamed on the weather.
I will tell you this, when they use the weather to destroy islands or coming in or whatever, their one and main only agenda is that to bring in the Red Cross, watch your children, they're going to be missing. This is all about the pedo satanic cult.
It's true.
This is what it's about.
It's true. I agree. Damn it. What a nasty game we're in. How did we get into such a crazy, nasty game? What happened? Like,
I think it's been here for a long time. The veil is lifting. We're seeing what's really here. It's all coming out. And it's coming out in a way that you cannot be an ostrich. You must face it. It's not pleasant. It's not pretty. We can't dwell on it, but we have to acknowledge it. We must acknowledge it for all of the victims.
Yep, I totally concurred. I don't know how we all fucking ended up here. I don't know how we all ended up here. It's not like we're in a million, like there's no way any of the three of us would like in any way negatively impact anyone, especially especially innocents. Like, how did we end up in this absolutely, like, can you imagine? And there's no more awful, denser, disturbing, distorted game that I could possibly imagine being in and trying to get out of at the moment.
No,
like,
you
it's
chose
awful.
to come here.
Yeah. Can you imagine a world without people like us in it?
Oh, well,
we need to be here.
Yeah.
We need to be the voice. We need to show the face. We need to stand up and say no more.
So
I wouldn't want to be in a world without people like us.
I know. I think the most beautiful prayer ever is that just the idea that every single child feels safe and sound. Like that to me is, that noble intention is just so powerful. Yeah. Anyway, like I think I'm pretty confident to say that everyone in the Tartarian space is absolutely 100% up to date and have faced this awful shadow darkness that exists on our plane and understands profoundly that we all have a role to play in beaming out light and love, truth and unification. Yeah. So, and I'm interested, Sonja, at like seeing the Crystal City and knowing what we've got going on here in 3D, and like they seem like worlds apart, don't they? Like to sit here and talk about a Crystal City, like, and how profound and beautiful, and then to talk about the pedophilia and the satanic agenda. Like honestly, it feels like we're in different worlds altogether. I mean,
yeah,
we are almost, aren't we? Because we can see it when you're in 2D, you can't see it, you're in it.
You want to raise your vibration, you have to acknowledge the filth. You have to acknowledge you've got dirt on your feet and then go wash them clean and then raise. I mean, you're not going to get up there if you can't deal with what's here. Yeah. You have to deal with, this is little steps, but we got to go.
Yep.
This is Judgment Day. I will tell you this, Cambell knows this. I was outside one day and I was sitting on my back porch and a cloud came over and it was Anubis and it turned and looked at me. And I got downloads and things. And basically we're in the weighing of the scales, whether we go or stay, what's happening to us. Our very fate depends on what we do now.
How light your soul is.
End times. This is it. We're at the end of the story. We're at the end of the book before we open another chapter to a new book.
So, I mean, what better time to go and hunt for Crystal City? I mean, really, like, this is the end days, like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, but let me ask about that. So, you know, is that like the idea of hunting down a Crystal City to me feels like out of the game. It feels like doing something that's out of the game. However, like the idea of sort of crusading through the game and leading the march through the game to uncover this darkness and shine light on it and speak it out and really like put your energy into that space. Like They're very different activities. They're very different objectives. Like, you know, what's the vibrational difference there? Like, you know, hunting down a crystal city right now, I feel like it's a high, masterful spiritual action. But like, you know, also like we need to be casting our light on this darkness in our actions in the 3D. So where do they sit, you know, like if this is the last action we take?
Believe it or not, it's all intertwined. They're working overtime, doing what they need to do on their end to help raise this reality we're in. We're only separated here. That's our true separation, because they're in the same space. They're just in a different frequency, but they're with us. And that's what you have to understand. Just because they're higher than we are doesn't mean they're not right here with us.
Are they being affected negatively by this situation? No.
Now, when you pass the 3D and you're in that high D, everything is a learning experience, and I mean everything. And so it's looked at as a learning experience. It's not all coming from emotion. It's more, okay, let's see what unfolds. Let's see how you handle that. Let's see how you do this. Okay, I'll give you this. Now what will you do with all this that I've just given you? Even though you don't know I gave it to you, here it is. It's perspective. They're on a different perspective.
Definitely.
It's like you going into kindergarten class and you're having say you're doing art and somebody's using a blue crayon and somebody's using a brown crayon, and then somebody's going to use an ink pen. Okay, it's perspective.
So do you think that the Crystal City potentially is accessible to anyone anywhere in the world at the same time?
Yes. As long as you can match the frequency or get even close enough, they'll come down for you. If you get to a certain point, they can come down to meet you. They know you're coming.
They know we're coming.
Know we're coming.
Woo!
They know you're coming.
That's awesome. So I wonder if we need to, they'd like us to bring them anything. I wonder if anything would be viable to a higher consciousness. Probably a song.
Yeah.
I was going to say nothing physical. It will all have to be from the heart. Singing, dancing. Oh, dancing. That's a high one. Dancing is one of the higher forms of love. When you dance from the heart. And I don't mean something that you learn step by step. Yeah. I mean, freestyle it.
Expression. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel that. So we need to take some music out on our expectation. We need some music, Cambell. We're going to have a little doof in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
A little Burning Man. Yeah.
And depending on the vibration of your voice, that actually transfers to higher dimensions. So they'll be able to hear you easily. Beautiful.
It's so beautiful. So I can't believe we haven't been doing this like for the last 40 years, but like, why have we waited this long? So what about the Indigenous connection to the Crystal City? Do you pick up on anything there specifically?
Well, when I look into that, because I'm only looking into this now while you're talking about it, because I've not looked into this before. I didn't know there was a connection. I don't know a lot of things. I know a lot, but I don't know even more. But I do see that Aboriginals, the tribes Aboriginals, not the ones that went to the city, but the ones that are real Aboriginals still, all they have to do is go into a dream state. All they have to do is concentrate and think. I wouldn't even call it really a meditation. They kind of do what I do. They're just there. They're just there.
So is that the dreaming? Is that the dream time?
Part of it, but not all of it. Some of those are Aboriginal people that I'm seeing this one guy, especially, he's like probably in his 60s. He can do what I can do, but better than I can ever do it. And I don't know who he is, but he's got some white paint here.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but I'm seeing him now. He looks like he's about 65, 66. He's got stripes of white paint here. He looks like an Aboriginal man. And then he's got pants on, well, shorts. That's it. I don't know who that is.
You haven't got a name. I'm just wondering if we're going to meet up with him. Might be a
I can't
hitchhiker.
pronounce his name. I can't pronounce his
No.
name. It's
Oh, okay, like Gudamunji or something.
I can't pronounce his
Traditional
name.
name.
It's a traditional name, and I can't.
Oh, we'll put it out there and maybe it'll pop up into our consciousness.
Okay, let me
If
see
there's a
if I can
connection.
try. Sitsuwansu or something like that. Sitsuwansu or
Sitsuwansu?
something like that. Shitsu. I don't know. I'm really bad with languages.
It's all right, because as soon as we meet someone that vaguely like says that sort of tonality, will trigger in both Campbell and we'll be like, no way, it's you.
You.
So what about children? Did these beings have a sense of children,
Oh,
young
yeah.
people?
All children
Mm,
have this ability. This is why they got to take it out of them at birth practically.
mm.
It gets cut off pretty soon, within 2 years. It's pretty wiped because of the parents, because of the programs, because of, yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some work to do there with the kids now, because the only real schools that were like protecting them from the apple juice were the Steiner schools, and they have fallen.
I can't believe
So,
that.
Yeah, so Steiner Australia vaccinate. Yep, they're doing it's mandated. They're doing it. The parents want it. The masks are there up from year 3 onwards. The masks are in the Steiner school. Like, and Steiner's
Parents want it. Is that?
yeah, I mean, we're talking, yeah, I mean, you know, the parents are you know, they're split like every other thing in our culture at the moment. But it's yeah, I mean, ultimately the Steiner schools are going with the mandates.
Well,
and
goodbye Steiner schools.
Which
Because
is
they're completely privately funded. So that'll
Yeah.
goodbye Steiner. You've just committed suicide.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So they're so yeah, so that's the last bastion of schooling infrastructure, I guess, which was not requiring or would never have gone anywhere near something like the apple juice ever before.
But it's a good message, isn't it? It's a good like sign that to show us that, look, even if it looks good, even if they're telling you it's the good, that they've got control of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is forcing now, it's going to force a whole shift in community teaching, and it's a scary time for a lot of people, like, you know,
But that's
parents.
also awesome, isn't it?
It's awesome and scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a pretty overwhelming thing to add if you're already running a business, to actually have to deal with, okay, suddenly I have no schooling system around my child. Like, I have to do this. I have to create this from scratch. Like, and there's all these parents now have in the same boat. They're going to have to like literally come up with alternatives really quickly. And they won't be, they won't get any accreditation. So the schools will be wild. Because they can't accreditate unless they follow the mandate. So
what good are schools now anyway?
Well, you know, in Australia,
what good is a degree when there's no industry left, there's no jobs left, there's no, you know, there's what good, because all the education system was to do was to train people to go into the system and, you know, be that cog, but that system doesn't exist anymore. So anyone who's out there studying thinking they're going to be a whatever, they're kidding themselves, as far as I'm concerned.
I will tell you a prime example. My niece Faith has gone to college for 2 years now. She was going to be one of those lab techs to do sonograms for, you know, pregnant women. And she's almost finished. And now she's not going to be able to get her degree because she's not going to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Which means she just wasted 2 years of college, all that money. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
So this is the thing, we need to reskill, and it's all about where do we want to go? You know, what industries and professions actually gave value? Because when you look at it, 90% of them don't. They're just there to confuse, to take money, all this other crap, fill us with poison. So I mean, I think this is a great, it's like the, everyone's cleansing their bodies, but this is like the cleansing of the system, right? All the crap is falling. It has to be, you've got to choose. Are you going to go and be part of that parasitic poisonous system, or are you going to go stuff it? I'm going to create something new, even if it's from scratch.
I mean, like in Australia, it's actually illegal not to send your child to school. Did you know that? Like parents it's illegal. You can't not send them. And so
they can take your kids, yeah.
And so, but if you create an alternative schooling structure because you don't want to take the apple juice, then that's not going to get accredited. So in essence, is still the same as not sending your kid to school. So like there are problems going on right now, like in layers and layers. So I mean, yeah, we've got a refugee parent body who are refusing the mask and the jab, and now are breaking the law about sending kids to school and have no option. It's total coercion. Like, like any way they go right now, they're in trouble on some level. So I don't know. And like
this is all about the law, isn't it? And the biggest thing with children and the law that people don't understand, and they go into court and they stuff it all. As far as the legal system is concerned, if you go into court, your children are your property. They are not your children, they are your property. Okay, if you talk about it, that's my property, you cannot take my property away, changes the whole argument, and they can't, because that comes under stealing. But they coerce you and they say, well, no, it's not your property, it's your kid, right? It's this person, it's this legal entity that we own, so we're going to take it. So this is all coercion, and we know we've been taught the wrong information so that we can't stand up, but the information's out there. And ultimately I see it as, why would you want to be accredited by a satanic system?
I agree. It's like there's going to be a generation that's just freaking wild, man. Yeah, well, that's going to have no education and be fucking geniuses. Like,
well, this is the thing, though. Educate themselves. Let's teach kids how to grow plants again, how to build houses, how to sing, make instruments, all this kind of stuff. Now, the real things that matter.
Yeah, I mean, and this is transcending to our our business community, because for them right now, starting next week, if they don't mandate their employees taking the apple juice, then and they don't make it a mandate within that company, if that employee catches COVID and gets sick and dies, it's on the business owner. And if they get sick and die from the apple juice, it's on the business owner. So basically the government has put the whole thing back onto the employer. It's so bad. So it's, I mean, there's like literally, out of all of this and all of that coercion and all of that squeezing, I mean, I reckon we'll be lucky if 10% make it out of this without the jab. What do you guys think?
I will tell you this. Isn't it amazing how we had all these terrorists always terrorizing everyone? This is going on in the world, and not one of these politicians is knocked off. How is that possible?
And what happened to all the terrorists?
It was never us. It was always them.
Yeah. All this ISIS and all that kind of stuff, right? Disappeared. What the hell?
Yeah, that was always them. That was never us. Humanity wants to get along. I don't care what color, race, creed, ethnic group you are. All we want to do is sit in our lounge here after working all day and let's just get along. That's humanity.
Yep. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So we need to, like the Crystal City is an amazing adventure to revive our spirits and our batteries. but like coming back into this 3D world and like integrating the concept of that, the idea. So, all right, Sonja, what have you taken out of that experiencing with the Crystal City that would be in service to humanity now, today, in this moment, to not just humanity, but to Tartarian hunters, to the ones that have already busted through the program and already get at everything? And what would you say?
Well, let me think about this. I think the one thing that they would want to get across is persevere. Persevere. Keep going. Don't give in. Don't give up. And keep going. Persevere. And I think that's the biggest message of all. Because the second you give up, the game is gone. It's over.
Yeah.
You've lost. You've got to keep persevering.
Definitely. Look long term and live short term, you know, like it's easy to get through a day. Well, I'm going to do awesome stuff today rather than how am I going to get through the next year, you know, so day by day, but have a vision for the year where you are going to end up. Yeah.
Well, I mean, sorry, go, Sonja.
When I go to the Crystal Cities and I'll go look at one of, like, I can go right now, I'll bilocate and I will interact with one of them. Let me do that real quick. That'll only take a minute, not even a minute, a couple seconds. Let me see if I have a message.
Love that.
I get singing songs of hope for every moment of your reality. Singing songs of hope, giving you hope. You cannot lose hope. You cannot lose that hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. That has to be what I'm getting more than anything. You need to have that hope. You cannot lose that. The minute you lose that hope, you're lost. And I'm also getting that they're singing songs to us, literally every moment of every moment of every moment. It's becoming louder. The veil is thinning. There'll come a point where you'll just hear it here in this snow globe. This Crystal City is the heart of this snow globe. It is the heart of the snow globe, and everything will radiate out from that. That's what I'm being told right now. That is the heart of everything, and everyone is welcome. The veil is thinning. There'll come a point where you'll just hear music. You will hear it, but it won't be music like you hear on the radio. It'll be nature's music. It'll be harmonic. It'll be vibration, and it'll be like singing bowls, kind of like singing bowls. That's the only thing I can compare it to. And it's hope. I'm hearing mostly hope. Don't lose the hope. Keep going. Strive for a better tomorrow. Make the future yours. This is the new earth, and we have to claim it.
Indeed.
On that topic of the new earth and claiming it, Sonja, does that mean that we need to regenerate this current earth, or are we moving into another frequency band of earth? Like, should
okay, this is how that's going to work. Not all of us are going to make this. Let me make that very clear. Not all. It's easier to get through the eye of a sewing needle for a camel than it is for you to get to the new earth. Let's just put it that way. Everyone who's in 2D is not going to make this. And they could be your mother, your brother, your sister, your loved one, your husband, your wife, your children. They're not making this. They will continue into another reality of 2D. And they will not be going where the ones like that are higher, like we are, like you want to gauge where you are. And I get this a lot because I Skype with people. What do you believe today? What do you know today? What information do you allow? Are you able to put down your dogmatic teachings and learn something new? If you're on the higher frequency, you can do this. If you're on the lower frequency, you cannot do this. And that's as easy as I can say to gauge where you stand. The ones that are going to the new earth, this will transition into that, it's already there. It's just waiting for us. And it's like in a band in a higher frequency. Those other ones will be taken off world if they survive. When we get to that point, this is coming to an end. I said it was coming to an end in July, but I did the tarot cards the other day and it said it may be coming into the end even sooner than July, maybe by 2 months sooner. So it's snowballing, it's gearing up, it's happening now. It's all being pushed because of our waking up. It's pushing it. It could happen tomorrow, but we're not there yet. Things are going to change. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be, I don't know what to say.
I'm ready.
Oh, I mean, you know, for all of us who've stood here in the knowingness of all of the darkness that's been afoot this whole time, and how frustrating it's been that truth hasn't emerged to sort of, you know, like clean it up in front of our, like actually clean it up. Like it's been a very patient experience we've had to go through, and then actually watching like the whole COVID agenda actually come to full fruition. It's just like, wow, we've actually, we know what's going on. We've been really patient. And then we've watched all our family and friends like fall to the jab. And then we know what that means. And we're still sitting here being very patient. So
yeah. I have to deal with it too. I have things going on in my life. I mean, I'm getting over a marriage that was my whole life. I mean, I spent my whole life, I put everything I had into it. And just in a moment, it was gone. I mean, I still have things on my end that I'm dealing with. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, we all have our separate little things we will be dealing with. You could call it your own piece of hell, actually.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
We're all dealing with it.
Maybe because we're sharing the load, we're all taking a little slice of hell along with the journey to like to help to like break it all up.
Yeah, that pie's too big for me. Let me share it out a little bit.
I mean, it feels like that, you know, like we're all dealing with such bizarre, obscure, like outcomes and events that like are very, you know, you wouldn't think they could possibly even happen. A lot of them, like for example, your husband is like exiting and someone else. That's a very obscure outcome to experience. I think a lot of us have similar things like that, you know, you would normally be like, what, that can't happen sort of thing. But I do think we're all carrying a little slice of hell around with us until like we've all got enough of one, and so it can start disintegrating as a collective. So from that perspective, like this has just been something that's really personally kept me in a quandary, and I think you'd be such a fantastic person to ask. So as I was saying, like I deal with regenerative agriculture. That's my job. That's what I do. We transition farmers over to regenerative agriculture. So our whole mission is to remove poison from the food chain, right? So that's what I do for it. But at the same time, knowing everything we know with what's going on and the timelines and Tateri and blah, blah, I'm like quite often I feel like that is like, you know, we're just scratching around in the dirt of the old realm. It's just going to be, we're just benefiting the new nefarious leaders of the old realm by cleaning up their soil. Like it feels like the action is sort of like remotely meaningless in comparison to, you know, what's unfolding in front of us. And I've never known how to balance it. Like, is it meaningless to be?
No. Okay. Everything you do now will benefit you tomorrow. What you're doing now is building the foundation of tomorrow. You need to do it. We all need to do it in our own arena, because in the end, we will all be pulling together from everything we've done as a unit. So we have to start somewhere.
Okay. And so that'll be the energetic basis for the new earth.
Yes. Yes. So like if I'm putting all of my energy into building an organization that's like basically championing for the removal of poisons from our food chain, healing the heart of our food chain, like is that in benefit to the future? Is that in service to the future of where we're going? I mean,
that is in service to others, because you are creating food is your medicine. It's the only medicine you really require. Everything else is pharmaceutical crap. Heal thyself with thy food.
I mean, is it a good use of energy? What am I saying? Is it a good use of energy to be constantly having, because we're having to clean up their mess. Like they've deliberately poisoned the planet, deliberately poisoned our food and our soil. And so we spend this whole lifetime like trying to reverse that impact. So is the reversing of that impact, you know, is it as good of an action as one could possibly choose to take? Like, you know, as opposed to just imagining forward and just skipping past this poisonous agenda and not putting my energy into it at all?
I'm going to tell you this. You won't think of it this way, but I'm going to show you and tell you what I'm seeing when I'm looking into you. The skill set that you're doing now will benefit you here. So if you don't see a lot going on here with this, that skill set of what you are doing is what you needed to know.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Yes. So yes, of course, because I've had to learn a lot of skill sets to like bring this to coordinate and bring this organization together, and all the wiring and firing of all the people and the components. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Everything is beneficial. You might think you're focused like with horse blinders on. Oh, it's just this. Oh, no. It's the whole ball of wax. That's what you needed to know. That's the ground that you're building on. That's your foundation.
So for anyone in our audience who is, as long as you're taking an action that is intended for service to others, intended to be in service to others, then whatever that is, it doesn't matter. The point is the very taking of that action and everything that's involved in your process there is of benefit to you and therefore the future of humanity down the line.
And that's what everyone needs to learn. It isn't about the Babylonian cursed money system. It's about service to others. And it's as simple as that. But we have to unlearn the Babylonian cursed money system.
Yeah, this whole giving to receive thing, you know, it says in the Bible, right? Give and you will receive. So it doesn't, you know, it says give and you will receive. That's the guarantee. So all you need to focus on is giving, right? Because the receiving is guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, like, I mean, that money system, what a crazy level of the game is that money system. Like, oh my God, it's like a whole Pac-Man level right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's another thing, right? If you look at it as energy, then, you know, we're all stuck on the economics of money and how much we've got and how much we've got to pay. But if it's just energy that's flowing, well, it's always going to be there, isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is, the service to the others, this is the weighing and the measuring of Anubis too. Anubis is a program running. It's not a real deity like that. I could go into all of that too, but I won't because it's a lot. But this is also a weighing and a measuring of yourself. Is your heart heavier than a feather? If you only care about money, your heart's going to sink like a rock because there's no compassion in that. The more Babylonian cursed money you have, it seems like you never have enough. You need more. It's like a fever that comes over you and it takes away everything that's good about you. I'm not against money. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the curse behind it, because it is a curse.
Love of money. Definitely.
Oh, it's a dance. That one is a dance because honestly, like I know with so many people now in our community, the refugees, their life would be a lot easier if they had the resources immediately just to buy more land, buy new property and settle down and opened up to the community. So, you know, from that perspective, I think a lot of our, you know, fellow refugees are going to be feeling stressed out and frustrated by the lack of that resource in their life. So I can see it's a dance. It's a dance. It's a layer of the game. But I also know, having lived in the bush for so long, you can really do amazing things with nothing. Like, I mean, honestly, our local tip was like our hardware store.
The shopping center.
We built the property basically out of the tip. And like, it's quite amazing how resourceful. And I remember Rantha always gave one sentiment that I always remembered, which was like, everything you need is in your backyard. as in everything you require in this moment is exactly with you right now. Just go and find it, like it's there. And I used to apply that method to, because I lived out in a very remote, isolated area, and there was no shops around. So literally, and I'm a very creative person, so I'm constantly having ideas, and I want to do this and paint this or build this or whatever. And like, I had to like know that whatever I need was here. It was just here. I just had to see it. I had to see it. And that same like process, I feel like I'm applying to the Crystal City. Like at some point, we just have to know, Cambell, that it's here.
Yeah.
We just have to see it.
I agree.
Everything we need will be there on our journey, you know?
What do they keep saying in all these, fairy tales, which we know are actually the truth? You just have to believe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. With a clear mind.
Yeah.
It's been program busted.
Yeah. And that's the main thing. Yeah. You got to, and that's why it's about lightening the heart, right? Because it's about letting go of all the heavy crap. And then you're as light as a feather. So this is a letting go process, just letting go of all the crap, the program. It's like the statue, right? The statue is not finished when there's nothing more to add. The statue is finished when there's nothing more to take away.
And it's not easy. Like, you can really do so well at like getting your head around deprogramming yourself from all the lies. But then you've got to step into the whole, like, the programming you have on yourself, like I'm not good enough, I'm I failed, jump this beat, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I'm all these things that run through our minds that are just like so self depreciating.
Oh my gosh.
It's the ego going the wrong way.
I know.
But
like,
it's all programming anyway.
It's all programming.
Yeah.
A few F-bombs, big middle finger, normally gets them on the way. I just refuse.
What gets me going?
If you can see it as the program, then you can tell it to, go and implode or whatever you want it to. And this is what it's all about. We're seeing what is, because the more you get into this, people are like, oh, that's definitely the program. Oh, that's the movie. And then they get into, oh, okay, that's part of the movie in the program too. And you get down and then you realize, oh, hang on, everything, it's all a movie.
Yeah.
So coming from that perspective, it's, it's like the whole legal system, should I do this? Should I start a business? Well, if it's all going to collapse anyway, then it doesn't matter. So what you should do is what your heart tells you to do, whether it makes sense or not,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because we are building the new reality, right? We're not trying to build a replica of the old Babylon system. It's got to be different. So it's got to come from a new place. We can't build on rotten foundations. Got to start anew.
And yet they have, Cambell. And yet they have.
That's exactly what
we're
they've done.
living on layers and layers of a repeated civilization process.
And that's why it's a big facade. It's just a shade of what it used to be, right? It's a plastic sort of created reality on top of something that was real. Something that doesn't work, put on something that did work.
I mean, we've done it friggin' well, haven't we, team? I mean, come on. Like, I don't know where we entered this game, but I get a sense I'm really bloody old. And I feel like I've been here a long time. And that means, I don't know if I personally, my soul went through the reset or not, but I definitely remember civilizations before now and before now and before now. And yet here we stand still. We've got this far again. We're here, conscious again. We're deprogramming again. Like I even saw today on my Facebook feed, like an Inca statue, and it had a what looked exactly like a QR code in this statue. Like it was trippy, and I just think, oh my God, we're just here again. Like there we are again and again, and like again enough to be bored of the againness. Like, are you guys? I'm so ready to like.
Oh yeah. I'm ready to
Burn.
go on.
I'm over
I'm
ready.
too.
Over
I'm
ready.
ready for this to end. I've had enough. I want out.
Yeah,
Mm.
we're ready.
I'm
It's
done.
time.
It's
So
enough.
ready. And I think it's like, I think it's gone longer than it was supposed to. I think that the idea was that people would wake up faster. And so I think, you know, where we've come down here for a certain, you know, time and a certain mission. And I think we're over time. And that's why we're all starting to really feel like, God, just do it all, because this is supposed to have been done. You know, it should have been done months ago. But of course, that's also the challenge, isn't it? Right? Are we up to the challenge? Are we going to keep going, or are we just going to fold, get the jab?
Well, I'm so ready just to give up all my responsibilities and disappear into the forest. Like, I'm so ready to just drop the game completely, like let everyone down and just like go and, you know, roll around in the desert. Like, and I can't decide if like I should feel bad or good about that thought. So that's where my current paradox exists.
Yeah, it's a big hook, isn't it?
Like that too. I have days like that. It's like, oh, I can't make another video. I just want out. Where's my freedom? Where's my telepathic abilities? I want to have my telekinesis. I want to be able to levitate. I want to fly. Where is all of that? I want it back.
I don't want to eat anymore. Stop making me eat. I don't want food. I don't want to deal with that. I just, I want to paint. Yes, I want to paint. I want to feel the sun on my body. I want to be outside. I don't want to ever have to turn the computer on again. Could I do that? Am I bold enough to step away from this thing and never turn it on again and just let everyone down?
No, don't do that.
Damn, Sonja.
You have work to do,
We all have to do what we have to do now. That's why we're here. That's why we're here at this point in this reality. There's days I get up and I'm like, I'm not going to make another video. I'm not going to have another Skype meeting. I want my life back. I don't have a life anymore. That's right.
Tell me about
Everything I ever did was taken from me. I'm not kidding. Everything I ever did was taken from me. I have to start over at scratch again. And it's like, oh, am I up to the task? And sometimes I'll wake up and say, no, I'm not up to the task, but okay, let's just start the day again.
So there must be something about our words, our voice, our intention being expelled all day, every day in our various activities and communication that's really vital to the shift that we're in. So I agree with you. This is the persistence that we're talking about. This is the long-term goal, guys, that we don't friggin' fall at the very last second. We stand here with our feet on the ground and our faces up and our voices loud and clear. And we speak the truth, because it's only through us speaking the truth that the truth will be known. And you know, even if you're not even speaking to anyone but your cat, which I quite often am in this situation, and my very wise cat has to listen to me speak on. I know that just speaking out loud, it's going into a symphony that's building power and momentum across the planet. And so I often say, you know, we're just marching. We're just on a march. We can't stop now. We can't stop now. Why set up camp in the middle of the march, like, and stay there? Like I was a student of Ramtha's, and he would definitely talk about getting caught. Like his last people, they just camped. They stopped. They made camp, and you know, and he said he'd come back, and now here we are. The march is back on, and we got to get through it. So no one give up out there. Like no matter what, no matter if you're just speaking to your budrigar, it doesn't matter. Just speak your truth. The whole mask shows you how powerfully they're trying to prevent that. They have literally shut everyone down. So hello. We know to do the very opposite thing that they're trying to prescribe to us. So don't get the jab and don't stop talking.
Don't stop talking, huh? They want to muffle the ask, right? That's what a mask is. Muffle the ask.
But I mean, the beings in the Crystal City, they must be thinking, oh my God, what a mess.
Yeah,
what a mess.
They are. They're like, don't fold, don't fold, don't fold. But they
Don't
also know, because they've had a human experience themselves. That's why they stick around, because they know how hard it is and they know they're needed. Everyone is needed. And yes, we get weary, and yes, we get tired, and there's days I don't want to drag myself out of bed sometimes. It's not very often, but I do have them. It's like, no, not again. But we must go on. We have to. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, and they're like, Sonja, I thank God I found you, because you give me the inspiration to get out of bed and face the day.
You are a gorgeous soul, Sonja. It is true.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
It's very obvious. It's very obvious. Yeah. Well, look, guys, I think that we have probably pushed our time limit here.
Yeah.
Like, I always marvel at, if we have an audience at the end of this podcast, I'm speaking straight to you, because you're marvelous for getting to 2 hours and 4 minutes. Well done. So Sonja has a very special message just for the people who made it to 2 hours and 4 minutes. Take it away, Sonja.
Put her on the spot.
I know I can ramble on, and I tell you, when I go, sometimes I'm on for talk to people on Skype for 5 and 6 hours. Because one thing leads to another. This thing has a lot of info in here. But yes, keep your chin up, keep marching high, say your truth, march along. Do not be counted in the sheep, because we are lions, and we listen to us roar, and we will go to the higher vibration. Your vibration will dictate to where you land next. And this is why we must go to the higher vibration in here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to engage you on these topics. And like, do we have your permission to ask other questions in the future of the Crystal City and the people as we concoct this journey? Because I think there's probably clues and information that, or actions or things that maybe Cambell and I need to heed or take advice for to continue our quest, because we are indeed on a quest.
We are.
A noble quest, and we don't often hear those words anymore, do we? They've been lost to fairy tales and mythology, but it is time, human race, that we stand on our feet, because we can be on a march, but we can also be on a quest, and that quest carries a lot more magic to it. So thank you for participating.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you very, very much. And Cambell, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll see me later. Yep.
All right. Well, big love to everyone who's made it this far. And thank you, Sonja. And of course, Autodidactic, the organizer.
Thank you, Kelly.
My absolute pleasure. My pleasure. So everyone, you have... Cambell, you have any last words?
Yep. Thank you all. And keep up the vibes. And we will be back with more updates on the quest for the Crystal City.